I don't know, guys. Something about that last chapter of One Piece, you know? Just some doesn't sit right with... Hold on. Some doesn't sit right with me. Something feels off with that last chapter, you know? All right. Let's Sherlock Holmes this. I got my fancy jacket. I got my poorly constructed Lego dagger that I'm going to put down because it keeps falling apart. I got my glasses. So we can break this down. Let's go step by step and see where things get weird here, okay? So the Straw Hats were on a ship. Pretty normal so far. That one is pretty usual for the Straw Hats. They're normally on a ship. Well, wait, hold on a minute, though. Oda might be thinking that we're gonna think that, so he's thinking that we're gonna think that. Maybe the entire story is a dream, right? Maybe they're not even really pirates. Maybe they were cowboys and cowgirls the entire time. Did you ever think of that? No, you didn't. Okay, because that's stupid. That's silly. All right, so now the Straw Hats were on the ships. They were fine. They were getting wicked drunk on the Elbaf absinthe, on that green fairy stuff. It's like, all right. That's also pretty standard. Straw Hats drinking after an arc, okay, having fun, celebrating and all that stuff, okay. Nami wakes up in a Lego castle. Honestly, still pretty average outing for the Straw Hats, really. Like, Oda has introduced so many weird concepts into this story. Like, time travel exists in One Piece, right? There are space aliens up on the moon that are foxes that are also pirates that were mining an underground moon city. That is canon in this world that Oda made. So, Nami waking up in a Lego castle, like, yeah, okay, sure, fine. But I'll tell you what. The number of art inconsistencies with Nami's outfit, that's where the line needs to be drawn. Okay, that's the part where things are starting to get kind of strange, all right? So I'm not going to go through every single one of them, but just read the end of the last chapter, 1126, when Nami woke up in the castle, and just, like, pay attention to her outfit. I know, but, like, pay attention to the way her outfit is designed, and then go through this chapter. There's quite a few, like, spot the differences kind of thing. Like, the sword on her back keeps disappearing and reappearing. She has a bracelet on one of her arms. It switches from her left arm to her right arm. The buckle on, like, her shirt kind of thing changes from, like, a square buckle to a circular buckle. Like, it switches a lot throughout the entire thing. Now, Oda does make mistakes with the manga. Like, this does happen quite a bit. Typically, with every Tankobon release, there's always, like, some edits that Oda will make. Like, he forgot to add in, like, Nami's eyelashes or whatever, you know? Like, okay, that does happen. But inconsistencies on this level. There's also inconsistencies with Luffy. Luffy's weapon on his back changes from, like, a sword, and then there's no weapon, and then there's an axe, and people have brought up, well, Luffy's not wearing his straw hat. That one I could actually explain away as just being under the helmet. Then there's the mistake of gear fourth, but he's using gear third. It really does seem, the more inconsistencies I'm seeing in that last chapter, and people have been pointing stuff out, like more and more things, like, oh, there's also this, there's also this. It's really making me think that, like, Oda is playing a game with us to an extent. He's just like, hey, I want to see who's paying attention to this. I want to say, like, it is like a spot the difference kind of thing. Like, here's 2 images of Nami. What are the differences? There's 7 of them, so you better find out, right? Okay. So, that kind of leads to the idea that this is some kind of illusion. This is some kind of hallucination or some kind of dream, okay? There's also another angle with this that could be incorporated into the same kind of thing, but there's definitely some kind of trickery afoot here, right? And it all circles back to Loki, because Loki is the trickster god. You know, Loki's really not that bad of a guy in the Norse mythology. You know, he's not that bad of a dude. But a lot of people are like, there's trickery afoot, and we're in Elbaf, so teching just, it's Loki. Just admit that it's Loki already. It's like, okay, fine. It's Loki. He controls everything. He's the evil prince that's like, I'm messing with everyone. I hope it's not. You know what? No, it's not Loki. It's not. Oda wants us to think it's Loki because it's so obviously Loki, but it's not going to be Loki. It's low-key, not Loki. All right. So here's an idea. All right, that when I first read the chapter, it's like, oh, they're in Elbaf, they're in an Elbaf village. We see giants, right? We see people wearing the helmets and the shields and the axes, and they're dressed like the giants are, so I assumed they were giants. But also remember, the Straw Hats woke up also wearing Elbaf outfits. Usopp woke up with a full beard, for God's sakes, right? And when Nami and Usopp fell into that pit and then the lion showed up, we see skulls and bones there. We see skull and bones. So we can assume that people have died here before, right? So what if those giants that we saw at the beginning of the chapter, who were witnessing like the fire coming from the forest, and they were smelling probably the cooked rabbit that Sanji was grilling up after Luffy and Zoro probably killed it. That's the ear god they were talking about, right? Those giants were not actually giants. Those were people that were in the same situation as the Straw Hats. Maybe they got too close to Elbaf. Maybe they got too drunk. Maybe they partook of the green fairy as well. And they also woke up in this Lego village that there's houses that are like, the houses and the castle seem a little bit too big for humans, but not big enough for giants. Case in point, they seem perfectly sized for Elbaf pets, like small animals, like in our world, like a cat or a hedgehog or a rabbit, like if you're going to make a little house for that, kind of pet, right? It seems perfectly sized for those kind of animals. I will also point out that we're on Elbaf right now. And like Dory and Bragi even mentioned when they were brawling with the Gorosei, and the Gorosei were huge. Like, when Peter was in his sandworm form, that was several times larger than Dory and Bragi, right? Like, that's a giant worm. And Dory and Bragi were like, it's like we're brawling back in the forests of Elbaf. Yes. So you got to imagine like an Elbaf like boar would be massive, probably comparable to the size of maybe Top Man when he's in his boar form. Like an Elbaf elk would be huge, all right? He would be Elk Farv, and he would be like the size of a parking garage, okay? Like those are the kind of animals we're expected to see in Elbaf. What kind of animals have we seen in the last chapter? We saw bees, we saw a hedgehog, we saw... Well, we didn't see it, but it was referenced as a large rabbit, an ear god, a rabbit. And then we saw cats. That could turn into a lion, but we saw cats, okay? So it really does feel like this entire area the Straw Hats are in right now is in Elbaf. But it's like a fake Elbaf. It's like a giant making a miniature version of Elbaf as like a model city. And then picks up humans, drops them into this model city, and the city is big enough so, like, Elbaf animals, like small little critters, can, like, wander around and just eat, or just, like the giants up there, like, I'm gonna put a giant rabbit into the forest. Oh, look, they're worshiping it like a god. Like, that seems to be the kind of idea, right? Now, that seems all well and good on the surface of that. Like, honestly, I think that really does make more sense. Considering Yggdrasil, like, we see Yggdrasil, and I know the people in the town mention it as Yggdrasil. But seeing Yggdrasil in full scope this early seems weird to me, and it is a little bit inconsistent than the Yggdrasil we saw before. I mean, granted, we've only seen like one part of it off to the side, but the trunk is more gnarled in this version. But I'm not really even worried about that. Like, if the actual Yggdrasil looks like it does in the last chapter, just much bigger, I'm more interested in, like, Yggdrasil is supposed to be massive, right? Like, it's supposed to like go so high up. It's like, in the world of One Piece, it would make perfect sense for Yggdrasil to be in the White Sea and then the White Sea for how big it is, right? That actually makes perfect sense for me. In the last chapter, the way we saw Yggdrasil, it just didn't really measure up, as it were. I mean, some people were saying, well, maybe that's like the very, very top of Yggdrasil and the rest of it is under the ground. Maybe. But it's just like, wow, that's Yggdrasil, that's it. There's nothing really like, I mean, it's a big tree that we can tell. But no, what if it's like a model city that one of the giants is like, I'm going to make a little miniature model of Yggdrasil, and then I'm going to put humans in there, and I'm going to put my cat in there, and the cat's going to chase the humans around and eat them. How delightful, right? Now, this is fine, but that still doesn't explain, like, there's still some weird stuff going on here. Like, the Straw Hats went missing when they were all like toasted on the Green Fairy. So the Green Fairy also has to play a role in this, okay? So what if, and here's the idea that I'm seeing a lot of people saying, what if it's like some giant that has an illusionary devil fruit, some kind of dream-based Freddy Krueger kind of devil fruit, right? So what if like they've made a version, like maybe they didn't make an actual physical model of Elbaf. Like maybe they didn't actually like buy Legos and put it together, although it could, like, why else would the Legos be there? Like it looks like something the Giants would like put together to make a little house. But what if this is like a dream realm and there's a giant that consumed like the dream fruit, which the only other person that's ever had a devil fruit similar to that would have been there was that seahorse. I think there's a video game called Ocean's Dream, and in the video game there was a kid named Noko that had it. It's the Nemu Nomi, that means sleep fruit, and it puts people to sleep and stuff and like messes with their memories. And then the Ocean's Dream arc in the anime is a little different. There's like one of them I think is a devil fruit, one of them is like the flute. It depends on the video game to the anime. It doesn't matter, but that's something that's like the closest to it, and that's a filler devil fruit, right? So incorporating some kind of dream-based ability, very similar to I can't remember her name, but the one magical knight captain from Black Clover that has the Dorothy, I think her name was, that has the ability to like send people. She has like dream magic, kind of something like that. So a giant has a devil fruit that controls dreams, and whenever somebody is like really, really drunk or they're in that state of like hallucinations or whatever, they can like Freddy Krueger them into their dream realm. And in this dream realm, they have constructed a false Elbaf, like a little miniature version of Elbaf where they lord over the people in there. See, I'm torn between this because on one hand, I just want this to be like a physical model and nothing else. You know, like them just running around a physical model, beating up small little, critters of Elbaf, and then they escape, and then they find out that it's actually a giant that put them in there, and then they maybe beat up the giant, and then that's all there is to it. And then you find out later that like, oh no, this was just inside of some giant's like game room or something, in their basement, in their hobby room or whatever. And then they get out of there, and then they're in the actual Elbaf. Part of me wants it to be that, but if it's like in some mystical dream world right now, like if we're doing some kind of like Uta world thing from Film Red, which we'll get back to that in a moment, because that might actually tie into some stuff here. If that's what we're doing instead, there'd be way more like I control over it, I guess. Like I guess the giant would be able to like snap their fingers in the dream world and like I will restructure the entire castle, or I will move this over here, which we've only been here for one chapter really, so we really have no full scope of what could happen here. Maybe that's the reason the cat turned into the lion. Maybe it wasn't a devil fruit power at all. Maybe the cat was a regular cat in this dream dimension, and then the owner of the cat was like, I will turn Mr. Whiskers into a lion, and then it turns into a lion and then chases after them, right? Okay, maybe that it couldn't even be, maybe it is because of a devil fruit ability, but the cat itself does not have a devil fruit power. Something else that really bugged me, and I brought it up in the review and I'm bringing it up here now, something else that really bugged me was when Nami and Usopp fell off the balcony of that castle and then they just fade to black and then they wake up on the ground perfectly fine. Like, you could have just done that with the Straw Hats just falling and then just hit the ground and it's like, oh, Usopp, are you okay? And I was like, I would have believed it way more than that because, yeah, the Straw Hats have fallen off stuff before, but like the fact they fell and then it's a fade to black and then they wake back up, that was just a weird transition to me. Like, very strange, right? Okay. And then when, Luffy and Zoro and Sanji all show up, there's inconsistencies with Luffy yelling Gear Forth. Gear Forth was in the actual chapter. Like, what was in the transcript there was a 4, and Oda clearly drew and wrote that, but Luffy's not in Gear 4th, he's in Gear 3rd. That's a little bit weird there. So yeah, and like people have said also, like, well, Nami was shouting for those Straw Hats specifically, and then they showed up. She did not mention Chopper. Chopper did not show up. Chopper we actually have not seen at all. We assume Chopper was also spirited away because he was on the Sunny as well. The Sunny disappeared too, which, if this is a dream realm kind of like suck you into this world, like the Uta world, that is exactly what happened in Film Red. The Sunny ended up there too, and you had like the Sunny walking around in this like little cartoonish chibi form, right? So I bring up Film Red because the last few One Piece movies have been kind of like either prototypes for what happens in the manga or Oda like throwing in manga canon material in a movie format. Like, let me explain. So, ever since Strong World, this has been the case. And that's the reason, because, like, Strong World was, like, one of the first, like, One Piece movies that was, like, it was, like, all over the world, and people loved Strong World. Like, there were One Piece movies before that, but, you know, the Strong World's really where they started getting really big. And Oda, I think, had more involvement in those, right? He definitely had more involvement in Strong World, because Shiki is canon. Shiki is a canon character, all right? So Shiki's in Strong World. Then you have Film Z with Zed or Zephyr. Honestly, I think this might just be something later, but I think a lot of the stuff in Zephyr's backstory is either going to be incorporated into Garp's character or maybe Akainu's. Haven't really seen a lot of that yet. But Gil Tesoro in Film Gold, Doflamingo definitely. And then Bullet in Stampede has a backstory similar to Kaido's, where Bullet was a super soldier from a young age, and then the country that was hiring him or had him fighting for them, you know, got too afraid of his strength and had to get rid of him. You know, same backstory with Kaido in the Vodka Kingdom. And now we have Film Red, the most recent One Piece movie, where the plot is that Uta, the adoptive daughter of Shanks, has the Uta Utanomi, an ability that sucks everybody into her magical dream realm, and she's basically God in this dimension, and then summons a demon, Top Musica, and that attacks everybody, and ooh, spooky and everything like that. So, the plot of a dream-based devil fruit has never really been used before in the canon. Oda has had some really trippy devil fruit abilities, like Sugar's Hobby Nomi to turn people into toys, and Moria's Kage Nomi, Big Mom's Soul Fruit had a lot of crazy shenanigans, but nothing quite like, you know, all the Strats being sucked into a dream realm. Okay, that really happens in Film Red and nowhere else. So that might have been like Oda's one-shot preparing for this in the canon of the manga, because it's happened before. Maybe Uta actually will show up in Elbaf. I mean, Shanks has connections, so maybe Uta will. I don't think Uta will show up here. And I don't even think it's going to be called the Uta Utanomi. It'll probably be called, like, the Dream Fruit or the Illusion Fruit or something like that, right? And it's the same basic idea, same basic premise there. But yeah, so do you think it's a dream world where the giant has complete control? Although, even in the dream world in the movie, Uta did not have complete, unabashed control of everything. Like, she can't mess with people's, like, free will. Like, she can't alter somebody's personality in the dream world. That was something that she was limited to. Because there are people that are saying that, like, the Luffy that we saw in the last chapter of the Strats might not even be the real Strats. Like, that might not be the real Luffy. I think it is still the real Luffy, but I could see, like, if it is a dream world, you could just make a fake Luffy, right? And, like, oh, I'm like Freddy Krueger's. It's like, ha, 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 you know, Kaisaku Oni Orewa now, bitch! You know, just like, you know, like, could be something like all of a sudden Luffy, you know, claws come out of his hand, just like, ha, ha, Nami! And just like, ah, you know, it's like, it might be Freddy the whole time. No. That, oh, God, if Freddy Krueger was real, that would be, like, if I was sucked into Freddy Krueger's dream world, that is what it would be. Like, Luffy would show... No, it would be Robin. Robin would show up in my dream and be like, oh, Robin from One Piece. How fabulous. And then, you know, Robin turns into Freddy or whatever and, like, murders me. You know, like, that's how that would go. It would start off as a One Piece dream, and then it would go, like, real south real quick. Okay? But anyway, yeah. So Uta wasn't able to completely control everything, but she could really... Like, she was able to break Bartolomeo's barrier in the Uta world. So that's the level, something that's supposed to be unbreakable. Like, she can bend rules like that. But people could still kind of mess with Uta, like, a little bit in the Uta world. Like, she wasn't completely omniscient. She didn't know where everybody was at all times. And even, like, I just did a video about this not too long ago. But even, like, devil fruits like the Mirror fruit that Brûlé had, and Blue and Nose Door fruit, and even Law's Op fruit to a degree. Devil fruits that, like, create pocket dimensions or go, like, teleport to other places. Those still worked, but they still worked in the confines of the Uta world, right? And given the premise of the movie, the idea is, like, you can't break out of it. You need to, like, the demon needs to be unlocked, and it needs to be defeated, you know, in the real world and in the dream realm at the same time in order to, you can't just use, like, Conqueror's Hockey. I will break out of the Uta world because Conqueror's Hockey. Nah. This is a movie plot. You gotta beat a giant accordion demon. That's the only way you're getting out of here, right? Like, now, in the canon, you might be able to do that. In the canon, if this is a dream world, Luffy or Zoro or anybody could just, like, shoot off some Conqueror's Haki, and that might be enough to break out of it, right? That might be how that works, too. But no. And also, if it is just a diorama, if it is just like a model city, that doesn't explain all the inconsistencies with Nami's outfit. What if it turns out they are just inconsistencies, though? What if it turns out Oda was just Oda was really, really tired? Because the man doesn't sleep that much. He was just really, really tired when he drew that last chapter, and he's like, oh. Like, it would be so funny if Oda, like, sent it in, and then as he's looking through it, he's like, I forgot to draw Nami with a spherical buckle instead of the square buckle. Oh, I forgot to draw Nami's sword there. Oh, because these are new outfits. These are new outfits that he's drawing the Straw Hats in. So he's like, oh, that's right. I had Nami's bracelet on her left arm, not her right arm. I made a lot of small mistakes in this last chapter. Hopefully no one will notice. There's a non-zero chance that's the case. I don't think it's likely, but there's a non-zero chance, okay? So I guess we'll see. But, yeah, what do you guys think? Lego City ruled by... Oh, and also the people in the Lego town were talking about, like, oh, we must report this to the great sun god at once. The ear god has been destroyed, has been killed. Listen, did that not seem like kind of a little bit like a cult? Like, I'm just saying, like, if there was a giant that captured humans and put them in this messed up, like, little, like, Sims kind of, like, version of Elbaf, and he was messing with them, and he's setting themselves up, it's like, I am the sun god. I am the god of you now. You will live in my little realm, and you are safe in here, but I'm also going to send a giant rabbit here as well. You know, doesn't that kind of sound like, oh, we need to report this to the all-powerful, almighty sun god at once, you know? Kind of gives off a little bit of vibes like that, I will say. So, yeah, real Elbaf, fake Elbaf, in real Elbaf? Let me know. Let me know down below. I guess we'll find out after this break week. Thanks for watching, everybody, and Teching signing out. Later. Oh, yeah, also, we have this pumpkin that the hat perfectly fits on him, so... I was going to name him, but you know what? You guys go and name him. Who's going to be Barry's new intern now? Like we're doing. He's only around for the Halloween season, all right? He's an exchange student from Norway, and, you know, he's Barry's intern, all right? Barry's been working for Teching 101 Industries for over 5 years now. He deserves his own intern. Barry's going to get his own Barry, and then, you know, it's like a level up kind of thing. All right. Let me know down below. Thanks for watching. Go to the end screen. Techig, signing out.